All right, could be live, maybe. Who knows? We'll just keep waiting here. All right, we are live. Well, let me make sure. And we are. All right, sweet, cool. How you doing? We're talking about the indie here. I'm gonna be kind of honest between what we just watched in F1 and in Xfinity. I'm kind of just over Indy. Like, just I'm gonna be very upfront, probably pretty contrarian on the approach here. I have weighed on and off entering this week of how these drivers would race and stuff and blah blah blah. And I don't think it's out of the I don't think I'm saying anything out of the ordinary when we say that Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, probably Reddick are just the favorites entering the week, correct? And they most likely, maybe not Reddick, but I think Hamlin and Larson would probably rate as some of the highest projected drivers, purely based on the fact that they can show up and lead and be up there and, be up there and whatever. This is what I'm doing, okay? I'm just going to embrace whatever stupidity they want to do, because practice laps are pretty similar across the board. We are seeing that people are more than less running the exact same speed. It's just going to depend on who gets a push. Just going to depend on if they get arrow tight. Whatever comes down to it, I think every driver in this race is identical. Okay. So what I'm going to personally do today is I'm just not going to chase a lap leader. Okay. I just feel like if we have truly dumb shit happen in this race, it's going to be guys up front leading, throwing it 3 wide, pushing guys up in the wall, like whatever. So, like, could just be wrong, might just be donating today. I'm just going to chase place differential. That's my approach. I'm going to have a lineup that's a true extreme to just where it's like guys 30th on back. And then my other couple lines are just going to be the good guys in the back. Like, why would we not want to chase Bell? Why would you not want to play Busher, Keselowski, Chastain, Kyle Busch, like in these races here? I mean, even people like Zane Smith, Eric Jones, like that's my take. Honestly, might be a short video today. I'm actively not going to play guys up front, despite the fact that I have them projected to lead laps and they are projected to do the best. I just think we get guys flipping the lead. I think we get guys pulling strategy moves and potentially pushing guys who should be leading the race into starting like 8th, 9th on restarts, and they just don't get the lead. Like that. That's honestly my take. That's the direction I'm going to take and how I'm going to go and how I'm going to race. And I'm not. I'm just extremely tired because I had to wake up early to watch this F1 race. That is like I just don't. I'm so tilted at F1, dude. Like that is unwatchable. Like I don't understand how if you don't have money on F1, why you even watch that. Like I don't know why I'm so tilted as a fan watching that race. That's just so stupid. I'm so glad Oscar's first win is tainted and he couldn't enjoy it. I'm so glad, like, yeah, just fuck McLaren. That is like the absolute dumbest shit ever. And I'm so annoyed I woke up to watch that. That is an absolute waste of time. And I'm just gonna rant about F1. I mean, I seriously, like if we're building lineups and stuff, like when we're looking at how these builds are going, and we look at everybody, in the 10K range, like I think Bell's the best play in the 9K. When you look at like truly raw projections, you could very easily see people like Bell. If this stuff wants to work, let's see. Like we look at where Bell is. Eventually, waiting for scoring. Like Bell starting at 18th at 9,500 by default has like a 7th place car. Okay, we have Brad Keselowski, who is like probably the best play on the slate. Okay, regardless of ownership, who cares? I'm not truly concerned with duplication at all today. Keselowski is the best play on the slate at $9,300. Why is he the best? Because he offers place differential in this race. Okay, easy, projected finish inside the top 10. But even still, 160 laps does not leave a ton of room for anybody to lead laps. And if we start swapping the lead between, several people and they lead, 25, 35, whatever amount of laps, uh, outside of like Reddick being 8,800, Gibbs being 83, you're still probably not hitting value. If the Hendrick guys are swapping the lead, if Hamlin doesn't run away with it, I would just focus on place differential in this race. Like Chris Buescher, like why would we not play RFK here? That's just wild to me. So like we can like by default see that 95 Brad Keselowski, 85 Chris Buescher are the plays. If we're prioritizing the 9 and 8K range, we're clearly seeing that, if you're playing Denny Hamlin, then you're very much chasing guys already in the back of the field. People like somebody like Hemrick, people like Haley. Like when we look at Hemrick really fast, like I hate to say it because this guy is so fucking bad, man. Absolute horrific guy. Hemrick has been a phenomenal play. I cannot emphasize like how this track will probably emphasize how, or at least DFS wise, how wildly productive just being alive in these races can be, or being alive late in these races can be. Like Hemrick is gonna run 30th all day, and I would probably expect Hemrick to finish like 20th, 18th today. Like I think Hemrick's a fantastic play. When we look at what Haley has been able to do in these races and where Haley's been finishing and the absolute Rick Ware cheat code, I mean, you have to project Haley for like an 18th place finish. Once you start doing that to these guys, well, then Jimmy Johnson's in play. Josh Berry's in play. Cindric's in play. So like personally, I'm just gonna say fucking, attack this like a plate race. Not because, this is gonna be a wreck fest. Not because we're gonna have, absolute insanity up front. I just think there's a lot of guys in the back of the field who can finish, 14th, 18th and stuff and end up being like a top 10 scorer. Now, I might miss on the optimal because I probably will not have the correct lap leader up top. But I mean, this is a race where I would just prioritize place differential, to be honest. Like even Cindric here, oh, yeah, had a bad Q lap, whatever. Didn't destroy the car, just got out of the gas, didn't break a toe link or anything, starts 38th, and you just go ahead and, who gives a shit about, true practice data, but like clearly there, he's not going to be the seventh best car, but he's starting last. That means he can at least get us like 20th at his price tag. Like I'm just playing place differential. Like that is my only take. I don't have like if you're asking me who do I have to win the race, I think honestly that's irrelevant because I think we're gonna have so many guys do absolute dumb shit late in this race to cause people to wreck out. My favorite to win the race is currently Hamlin, followed by Larson, followed by Byron, Reddick, Gibbs, Truex, Bowman. That is the priority, or at least not my priority. That is my projected finishes between, projected win for like Hamlin and then like so on and so forth. That's where that's at. And very similar, like I think Truex is a way better play in this race than Elliott, Byron, and Larson. I would absolutely prioritize these guys in the teams, like Bowman. These guys, when I mean like Alex Bowman, Truex, Bubba Wallace, Bell, over the guys up front. I cannot see how these guys like don't run into issues. I just don't see how these guys don't speed on pit lane. They don't fall victim to being flipped in the stage or strategy or a late race call or whatever, especially when this race is going to be dictated by who gets a push and who's able to clear the field and not have to worry about, fighting side by side as everybody else is just like cannibalizing each other. And like I said, I don't think it's a wreck fest. I just think we have so many people in the back of the field who can pass and get up there who are probably going to be outscoring people. That's where I'm at. Probably, not a very fun take, but that is where I'm at. And it's such a hard race. So people are saying that it's near impossible to pass. It was like that yesterday. It is impossible to pass. Like, you need help. You need to get pushed and stuff. But the more and more I just see how the Cup Series specifically is just doing more and more dumb stuff, and the volatility factor has just increased weekend over, and I feel like it's been higher. Maybe now that could be like a personal bias, but why not just embrace the volatility in a race like this? That's how I take it. Um, I think if we're talking like who's going to lead, I think Reddick probably has likelihood of leading the most laps, followed by Hamlin. But I'm actively just not going to play lap leaders in this race and just see what happens. It can't be any worse than what I've already been doing, you know. Absolutely getting crushed by one of my guys crashing out or whatever. Literally can't be any worse than what my results have already been for like last week and a half or month and a half and stuff. Even like yesterday, Chandler Smith dead on arrival. Literally, I couldn't play it any worse if I tried. Couldn't play it any worse. Even if I followed, playing Herbst and Custer like my number said, I would have had Chandler Smith, so I wouldn't even competed. So like, I'm just gonna chase place differential. Like when I start looking at guys, like realistically, like what do we have projected for people in the back? Like how is Keselowski not scoring 50 points, right? Near 50 points. How is Cindric and Barry not scoring like high 30s? Okay. Like right off the bat, we already have several people projected at 5x in the back of the field, and I've just talked about Keselowski, Barry, and Cindric. But like, yeah, sure, Kyle Busch has had like truly absolute horrific luck. That like it's wild how like these crowds are like booing Kyle Busch. Like, I don't even know how you boo somebody going through this. It's like shitting on Petty in his last season. It's like giving shit to Waltrip at the end. Like, you just kind of just want to see the guy not wreck out of a race for once. 8,000 starting 34th, and we look at where like Jesus Christ, Ty Dillon Q 22nd, man. Austin Dillon's 11th. Okay. The RCR cars are going to have straight line speed. Okay. He's $8,000. Like, oh my God, he hasn't finished the race, whatever. Like, dude, we're going to have so many people run issues today. We're going to have so many people do dumb shit. Like, Kyle Busch is a phenomenal play. Okay. Keselowski's a phenomenal play. Chastain, mispriced. Like, I think he's pretty underpriced too. Like, Chastain is a top 10 contender week in and week out. Average it out, he's like a top 10 car. Starting 28th, you don't even have to give him the 18th place differential. Give him like 15, give him 12, and you see him at 81. Absolutely going to be competing to be a top 10 scoring driver today. And when you start looking at it like that, you have to realize that you look at these 5 individual drivers who would be projected to score, most likely as a top 15 scorer, but they are not all going to be there. They cannibalize each other in terms of what they can do. You then have Bowman, Truex, who not even needing to cannibalize each other. If 3 of these guys fail, these 2 automatically outscore 3 guys, if not 4 guys starting in the top 5. Okay, you start going farther back and you look at Bubba Wallace and Bell, it's very unlikely that Bell is not outscoring 4 of the guys in the top 5 at the end of this race. With him starting 18th, most likely going to finish, in the top 10. Very easy contender for a top DFS slate score. As we continue down, I mean, even somebody like Gillen, Buescher, Keselowski, Chastain, once you get here, it's almost a guarantee that between Bell, Buescher, Keselowski, Chastain, they are scoring the exact same as the primary lap leader in this race when it's all said and done. And so once you start just getting farther back, like I'm just going to chase the guys in the back. And I'm very hesitant to say, oh, just play it like Atlanta, because I'm afraid of what that might put in people's brains. But at Atlanta, you play and even at a plate race, if a plate race goes green, you play the good guys who have place differential. Okay. We're not going to see gigantic, sweeping, 28 car crashes here. And so let's just play the good guys in the back. Let's just play the guys who are projected to do well in the back of the field lap leader be damned. Let's see what happens. And yet again, could be biased here, could be my own personal bias, but how many times this season has the primary lap leader ran to an issue and either crashed out, ended up not scoring the best on the slate, like not even ended up being a top 8 scorer. So like if you're, and I'd have to go back and check because this is more so off the top of my head, but we have seen a lot of times in the Cup Series, the guy who has been the early lap leader, either through stage 1, halfway through stage 2, has failed to finish in a reasonable position. So like 160 laps, already limited on that, anything can happen. And, the main thing that I would probably look at is like Reddick and or Hamlin is probably going to be the main lap leader at the beginning of the race, if not through stage 1, if not through stage 2, if, wherever cautions may lie, may change that. If the laps led are concentrated on one or two guys and they run into issue, it is wide open for place differential in this race. So that's my approach, honestly. I'm just going to chase place differential. See what you guys are saying. I mean, maybe we have some different opinions or differing opinions and stuff. I think if we start looking at people who are unplayable, who I would personally not want to play in this race, we're probably looking more so at McDowell, Stenhouse, Nemechek, Harrison Burton, and then probably BJ McLeod. Like these are like the 5 guys that I would say, yeah, I'd probably want no ownership to. Past that, I think everybody's open. I really do. I think there's truly not a favorite. I mean, you would argue that the favorites would be these fellows up here, but there's not going to be a favorite at all. Somebody stays out, we go to green, white, checkered. We get a yellow. Even if we get a yellow right before a stage and we just have people swap in positions, like that's not even talking about speed on pit lane. We've already seen a ton of speed on pit lane, even at last week at Pocono, even this year. This is going to be a hard pit lane for them to slow down to if we have green flag pit stops, which I truly don't think we do today. I just don't think we run into that. So that's my take. Could be lazy. I don't think it is. Maybe I'm surrendering to chaos at this point for this race, but I just don't see how this race doesn't get stupid in some form or fashion with how close together these guys are. With Hamlin being like, "Oh, we got championship level, focus on this race." Like you're shooting yourself in the foot. You can't. Oh man, there's no way he even he's gonna get screwed over in this race. Like that's just par for the course for Hamlin when they put a ton of effort in here. So now that's where I'm at. Now let's see where you guys are at. Yeah, no, it's still, I just don't get it, dude. Like every time I meet somebody, and clearly what I do is hard to say, but I'm like, oh, I work in data analytics. I basically watch motorsports and stuff like that. I'm like, oh my god, do you watch F1? Oh my god, do you like F1? And I'm like, how do these people watch this fucking Netflix show? It's oh my god, dude, I hate F1 so bad. Like it's so unwatchable. And yeah, like anybody in the top 5 can certainly swap the lead. That's where I'm at. And I think they can realistically do it under green. I don't know. And this isn't based on anything that happened yesterday, which shout out to Herbst. That might be like straight up. That is probably the most wheeling finish of any individual driver I've watched in probably 6 years. Like shout out to Herbst for wheeling that and getting the win. That's like the first time I've ever watched. That's one of the first times I've watched a race in probably the last 5 years that I was like, that guy wheeled it. He deserved it. What a race. And it had nothing to do with anybody else. It was just good on Herbst there. And I'm saying that because I don't think that today's race even races anywhere similar to that. Like I'm not using that as a reference at all. I'm just thinking that like I just don't think we have a favorite up here. And if when we run into an issue where we don't have a favorite, then it defaults to the cheaper plays because they're less risky. You're taking on less risk if you're paid 83 for Ty Gibbs or 88 for Reddick and he fails. Whereas, if you paid 97 for Elliott or 9,000 for Byron and he fails, like that lineup is kind of fucking dead. Even with 200 between Byron and Reddick here, and so like, If everybody's equal, then it defaults to the pricing and stuff. And even then, like I don't feel comfortable playing Byron today. I don't really want to play Gibbs. Don't really want to play Reddick. So I'm like, I'm just gonna not play the top guys. See what happens here. So like where I'm at here, James, personally, like I would not play the lineup that you're playing, but clearly I am going to be so far like against the grain here. I don't even know if you want to take that advice. That's why I'm just being upfront of like I'm just chasing place differential and stuff. So why does Bush scare you, if I may ask? Due to him not finishing races a lot this year, because you know that's due. And I don't like using like positive regression in racing because that's kind of stupid. It's not as cut and dry as like a real sport, but he is due for like positive regression to not like have this many DNFs and stuff. So like do keep that in mind. And he's starting 34th. Like Kyle Busch wrecks out in this race and finishes 37th, and then we have other guys run into problems up here. Like Kyle Busch will probably not be the lowest scoring guy today. I would say that Kyle Busch will probably, even if he finishes 35th, would probably be like 10th from the bottom in terms of scoring. So that'd put him like at 28th today. Like I just don't see any risk involved with Kyle Busch, to be honest. It literally can't be any worse than what has already happened with these people playing Kyle Busch. And I have not been playing Kyle Busch. I've been actively fading him. Not because I think he's going to wreck, just because, ownership or, I think he's going to underperform based on finishing stuff. I haven't been fading him due to like, oh, I think he's going to wreck. We've just been lucky there, not playing Kyle Busch when he's involved in crashes. But this is one where I'm like, yeah, Kyle Busch 34th, 160 laps in this race. Place differential probably more important. Yeah, I play Kyle Busch here. That's how I look at it. Let's see. And like Truex as well. Like I think Truex is a pretty phenomenal play, man. I really do. I think Truex can very easily compete today. I personally, where I'm at, like I think the actual grid starts like here, to be honest. Like I think you just deal with this, to be honest. And so by that, I'm like, hey, Martin Truex Jr. starts second today. Like that's where I'm at. That's how I view it. I think this is the pool. I think I am probably going to miss on the optimal doing that. I really think that we're going to have some guy up here probably stay up front all day. But you know what? I'm okay not being correct on that and focusing on the rest of the builds, because like Cody, like Haley and his ownership has been crazy. Cody Ware last week, like similar situation, nothing phenomenal. Like not doing anything. He finished. He just walks into 26th, like after being, the 35th best car. Like these RFK affiliate cars are there. So if we like Keselowski, we like Buescher. Both these guys are in play. And also continuing with that, I don't care about salary, man. If I'm leaving $7,000 on the table, if I'm leaving 2, if I'm leaving 800, doesn't matter today. I would absolutely chase place differential. Like I love Hemrick. Like when you look at where AJ has been, like the drastic difference of where AJ can put these cars, like this is what the car has in terms of speed, okay? And then you look at like where AJ's been finishing in these races, and you're like, man, AJ has been, kind of underperforming, finishes like in the 20s. Sometimes you get some teen finishes stuff, and then you look at like, Derek Kraus or Hemrick in these, and like they're coming home with like wildly good finishes. Like Hemrick has practically just finished 18th in like every race, to be honest. It's absolutely wild. And yeah. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, I mean Cindric, Barry, Bush, Hocevar, Gillen, I'd argue. Priest at his price tag. I mean, I think Johnson is in play. At 6,000, Johnson is in play, and it's almost, it's so similar to a plate race in terms of how I approach it not in a sense of how I build, but when I analyze people, like Johnson could be so slow today. He's not gonna even put himself in bad situations. Okay. And if we run into situations where Hemrick can just finish well, Haley finishes well, like I think Jimmy Johnson is in play, not because of the track history, not because this guy's won here before, but just because I think he's gonna run 34th all day. We get late race yellows and like Johnson comes home 18th and like nobody's surprised, you know? Um, so where I'm at, I think the pool starts from 13th on back. I really, really do. I really do. And then, when I get crushed today, when I'm not even near cashing, was it even worse than me trying to predict who's going to be the correct lap leader up here? I just don't think so. And if anything, I'd probably have a way higher floor just focusing on guys in the back. Let's see. Yeah, I mean that's still part of like kind of the gambler's fallacy of like, oh, Kyle Busch has wrecked out so much, can't keep staying that way. I think that's irrelevant. We just see Kyle Busch starting 34th in RCR. I mean, Ty Dillon, Jesus Christ, man. Ty Dillon queued 22nd. Are you kidding me? Austin Dillon's, starting 11th. Give me Kyle Busch starting 34th. Ownership be damned. I don't give a shit what he's been doing. I'm playing Kyle Busch today. Let's see what else. I mean, I just think the package yesterday was horrific. I think it's just absolutely horrible. Personally, for me, like if I'm not playing these guys, like I'm not going to play Ryan Blaney. But if I was inclined to play guys up front, I would probably default to Blaney because I think he'd probably be less owned. Not because of how he's been running and stuff recently, which is, that's still good. But like when you look at everybody up here, they're all pretty much even. All these guys, in terms of speed, because we see that speed are shown at Pocono and certainly in just where these guys are in terms of speed. Everybody up here is up here because they should be up here. Everybody down here, like Keselowski, Buescher, Kyle Busch, Chastain, Cindric, Bell, those are bad Q laps. Like we can clearly see that it was either bad Q lap due to when they got on the track or whatever. Like everybody up here is where they should be. We're clearly seeing individual drivers who qualified farther back than where they should be. Like this is out of the ordinary for Keselowski, Like Keselowski has not been. I could be wrong. Let me take a gander. Let me take a look. But Keselowski's practically been a top 10 qualifier in the last half of the season. So we clearly see that this is like just a miscue from Buescher and stuff. So, and yet again, we've seen now. I could be actually, if I go back, it would probably be contradictory because I was going to say we have. Even yesterday, we probably saw like a really low scoring slate. But then as I say that, it probably would have been low scoring if people finished where they should. We probably end up seeing a pretty high scoring slate due to all the place differential that came through because we had, if I'm not mistaken, 250 guys from Cole and Herbst. Let's see what we ended up scoring here. I mean, also credit is due, or credit is where credit's due. Shout out to Ultimate Win 4. What a player, man! You gotta shout out somebody who just had a return on investment like that. He nailed the slate. What a legend! Absolute domination by Ultimate Win 4. So the winning lineup that he had was 341. He had like a 20-point gap between the other stuff or between the other lineups, but these were scoring like 320s and stuff, which is a pretty low scoring slate, even for Xfinity standards and stuff. And so when we start looking at today's race, in terms of lap leaders, it would probably be a low scoring slate. If we start looking at all the place difference that could potentially come through and everybody's scoring, in the 50s and 40s and stuff from the back, it starts pushing a higher, how do I put this? Like if we're looking at the points of a lineup or potential lineups that score based on lap leaders, it's like right here. If we look at the place differential coming through, it's clearly a slightly higher floor, but a much lower ceiling. And so when we look at where those two different builds collide, I think this is probably going to end up being a pretty low scoring slate in general that would only score a bit higher if more place differentials coming through. And so if it's going to be low scoring anyway, then just give me the high floor guys in the back of the field. And I think they can compete with the potential lap leaders that we see. If that makes sense. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe I just rambled there. But that's how I view this slate. I'd play Haley over Gillen, but both, I mean, Gillen 24th as well. But like, are you like, guys, come on. Why is this even a question? Like, Haley has speed. Haley has like raw speed, right? And look at like where look at what Haley's been scoring. Like, this is not, I'm not just coming out of the woodwork being like, man, you should be playing Haley. The guy is scoring just out loud, speaking out loud on DFS points going through. 32, 34, 50, 10, 37, 2, 47, 22, 53, 54, 42, 33, 3, 26, 9, 13, 22, 44, 27, 24, 37, 13, 41. You compare that with somebody like Nemechek, and it's like Nemechek would kill for anything like that. 18, negative 17, 14, 56, 24, 21, 21, 8, 24, 2, 46, 37, 4, 3, negative 2, 10, 20. Like, Haley at this area in a race like this, like, I just don't see how you don't play Justin Haley as well. And also moving forward, like, he clearly, and as I've been saying, you just got to play Justin Haley until they bump his price tag up. He's most likely going to continue, unless he's queuing in the 20s. He's most likely going to keep scoring probably like mid 30s each and every week, like by default. Like that's like his by default projection is probably like 32 week in and week out. Let's see what else. Yes, sure. Jimmy Johnson is good enough. I'm assuming that's what you typed at the end of that. I don't know. I mean, that's where I'm at. So it's clearly not a plate race. Like, I would not just play, all the guys back here. Oops. But like, you got plenty of good plays back here. Like, I just don't think you even need to mess around with this area. I just don't think you need to mess around. And realistically speaking, probably if these guys fail, they're probably scoring mid 30s, if not low 30s, right? I mean, I just think you embrace the volatility of the potential lap leader run into issues and stuff. Not a fool like Sack from the back, like Truex, Bell, guys up here are in play. Noah Gregson, Chase Briscoe. Like, I'm not going to fault anybody for playing anybody here, but I think you just embrace the potential stupidity that the leaders run into. Notice I'm not saying Rex. I'm just saying we just have to outscore these people, okay? At a plate race, when you got like BJ McLeod, he needs a gigantic wreck vest, right? We understand that. That's because that's how I build. Justin Haley does not need a wreck vest. Josh Berry does not need a wreck vest. Austin Hill does not need a wreck vest. Okay, Chastain does not need a wreck vest. Keselowski does not need a wreck vest. Just play the good guys in the back of the field. Okay, and if that fails, well, then you're like, I got beat. Whatever. That's how I look at it. But that's how I'm going to play it. That's how I think you should play it. Just embrace the volatility up top and see where it goes. And what a disappointing Brickyard 400. Like, the return is negated to, volatility is probably going to take out the guys who deserve to win the race. Like, what a sad state of affairs, man. What a sad state of affairs. Because like, if these guys, which is so weird too, like if people qualify where they should, right? Like, you'd have Buescher up front. I mean, even if you just do it by like their best lap in practice. Should have been up front. Should have been up front. Should have been closer up front. Should have been closer. Should have been closer. Pretty surprised on Truex, actually. Where's Truex in 5 lap? I mean, speaking out loud, I might not be as high on Truex or his favorite, but no, yeah, I default to this. That's fine, whatever. Guys messed up in queue, man. Guys messed up in queue. I'd take advantage of that. Who cares if it takes forever for them to pass? I think restart's going to be dumb as hell. We're going to absolutely see a wreck in a turn 1 today, if not in a turn 3. But I think we're going to see a restart wreck for sure. Yeah, it could. I mean, the Carnage if it's causing the front, Carnage is going to be in the middle of the pack. But we're going to see wrecks on the start. We're going to see guys forcing it 3, 4 wide. We're going to see guys entering 3 and 1 so shallow on the bottom because they're just trying to make it work, and they're going to come up the track and hit somebody. Like, that's where I'm at. I would expect maybe not a lot of yellows, but like I don't think we're going to have a huge wreck, but I would expect to see a lot of like 2, 3 car incidents today. And yet again, when we looked at where, the amount of DNFs we run into at this racetrack, like I think the DNF expectation is probably 8 to 12 cars not finishing this race in most ranges of outcomes. Okay. If it increases, then it only helps the guys in the back. If things get more crazy, then it only helps the guys in the back, and or, it makes the plays in the back safer because if they're involved in a wreck, they can't lose as many positions. Okay. Yet again, that's why I'm saying I'm having the same mentality of understanding how everybody's going to race as I do in a plate race, but I'm not just going to be like, oh, I'm going to stack, 6 guys in the back, whatever. But that's where I fall in line. I will be shocked if we don't have like 8 DNFs in this race. If that doesn't happen, we've had the most green Brickyard for 100 since, the introduction of stage racing. Like, this is pre-stage racing, which I just don't see that happening here. I think it's 1, Daniels. I think, speaking optimally, I think it's 1 guy in the top 10 makes the optimal lineup. No clue who. Might as well not even bother trying to chase it, because if it's one of the favorites, right? Like if it's Reddick or Hamlin, which would be the favorites, right? I'm not worried about duplicated lineups. I would just be like, I feel like that's too risky to be like, I'm going to nail 1 guy up front and it's just going to be like the expected chalk guys. Because then if they run into issues, that's the biggest point of lineups that are running into issues. And so like if I was going to play 1 guy in the top 10 today, you'd probably go to like one of these 3 guys and Blaney. But then like I'm just not a fan of playing anybody in the top 10 today. We'll just see what happens. Because I mean, if it goes boring, Hamlin wins the race or Reddick. I think those are the 2 favorites, right? I don't know. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at, Daniels. And I mean, that's mainly it. This is very, very disappointing. I really, really, really wanted to be better. Like, even when we look at Pocono last week, I mean, holy shit. When we look at like where everybody finished at Pocono, you gotta be honest and say, look, man, the guys up front got crushed, man. We had so many guys run into issues up front at Pocono, which regardless of, using that data or not, oh, it's similar, it's not similar. Look where these guys started, man. You look at second place, Byron didn't do anything. Unplayable DFS, right? At his price tag, starting second, finishing 4th, unplayable. Just not viable at all. Truex leads 13, starts 3rd, finished 8th, unplayable DFS. Like, and not unplayable of like entering. I mean, like post race, once the scores are out, absolute line killer, right? I don't remember what Hamlin ended up scoring. I don't remember what the winning lineup ended up being. So this is debatable. But Blaney coming in out of nowhere, no expectation, entering the week really, because what was Blaney's ownership? 8, 9, 10%, somewhere around there. I think it was like closer to 8. Nobody expected that to come through. And then you look at the rest of where people started. Ty Gibbs, who, yeah, sure, like 22% ownership, whatever, but his price tag starting first. Joe Gibbs' car, like this, I mean, that's unfortunate. I'm not talking about the engine failure when he was just making, liquid coming out of the tailpipes. I'm just talking more so of like led the first 21 laps, which was good, and then just could not get back up there, Man. So like when I look at this starting grid yesterday, or when I look at this starting grid at Pocono, and I'm like, hey, what does Indy end up looking like today? You know, I think it's a bit more aggressive of not as many people finishing the top 10 as Indy, but I think it's very much very similar. Like even when you look at last weekend of the guys who were able to pass and just you can't pass Pocono. We can argue that you cannot pass Pocono. You just get there and survive and get there through strategies and stuff. Bubba finishes 10th. LaJoy finishes 19th after killing everybody. Eric Jones 14th. Cindric 18th. Busher 11th. Keselowski 7th. Like, we're just coming off a Pocono race like that, So like, why would we not? Like, if I showed you this and you're like, when we come back to Pocono next year and you're like, man, how do I look at this and how do I view it as like, how do I want to approach this week's race of Pocono or whatever? And I'm like, man, I probably want to just play more place differential than I probably initially thought. And that's just, yet again, this is kind of the different case of like tale of two coins, because I like to see where people are in terms of speed to have an idea of where we can expect them to run. But when you go through and look at the intermediates this year and you look at where people are finishing or the amount of place differential coming through in these races, that should get my intermediates. Let's just take a gander at what tracks they're bringing up. Okay, cool. And we look at Pocono, we look at Nashville, we look at Charlotte, we look at Darlington, we look at Kansas, and we look at where people are finishing. We just went over Pocono. We look at the start and finish of these drivers. But we look at Nashville. Now you might be like, Nashville was a shit show. We went into overtimes like that. I mean, Nashville was up and green until, Cindric brought out a fucking yellow and destroyed the slate for everybody who played it correctly, right? And you're like, wow, the top 10 got absolutely crucified. We look at Charlotte. And we look at what happened with, expected lap leaders. Now, yet again, this has a ton of laps and stuff. Long race. And if Racing Reference wants to actually work and stuff. But outside of leading laps, not really even, yet again, same thing with like Elliott starting 4th today. If he finishes 7th, 5th, like unplayable, terrible DFS play if he doesn't lead any laps and stuff like that. And we're seeing more and more place differential come through in these races. We look at Darlington and we look at where people finished and where they started. Like, there's just a ton of volatility this year. And, in my head, maybe it's just me being biased and thinking that didn't happen more before. But like, you can't tell me we don't have guys in the top 10 just run into issues. If you look at just at the race tracks or just at these races here, I'm not going to talk laps led here because I think that's kind of irrelevant. Because if you are looking at percentage of miles led, then maybe the percentage would argue more, but because we're kind of 160 today versus like 253 or whatever, 267 at normal races and stuff. So I'm not looking at the laps led. I'm just looking at the, survival percentage of somebody who starts in the top 10, finishing in the top 10, and then analyzing that of like, is it a top 10 finish that's like viable, or did he score like 35 DraftKings points at 10K, right? And you start looking at that and you're like, one guy, okay, at Kansas. We look at Darlington. We have 1, 2, 10K guy, maybe, I don't remember what his price tag was. So it's like we have 1 guy here, 2 guys here. We go to Charlotte, and then we have 1, 2. We'll give him 3 here. Okay. Not at all. And then this would be this is Pocono, right? It'd be Blaney and Hamlin, man, and Bowman, but man, even still, so like we're looking at like 2 guys, like average of like 2 to 3 guys who are like staying like even somewhat viable in terms of DraftKings points who start in the top 10. it all just circles back to, guys, I'm just playing place differential. Like, I'm not even going to goof around with the top 10. Like, they're going to do whatever they want to do. I'm playing place differential. Whatever happens in this race happens. Like, that's how I'm going. Yeah. And it's like, is it, I can't, do you guys feel the same way of like the volatility? Like, I asked Sheets, last week, and he said he didn't really see it because NASCAR is always volatile and stuff. But I feel like it's like 2021 all over again, man. I really do, where it's like just the dominant guys are just not finishing races up front. And I feel like this Indy race is just where you embrace that aspect and stuff. So those are my takes. I think we just play the good guys in the back. And even still, I think everybody's very much even. I would not be shocked to see Zane Smith, Jones, Hocevar be optimal today. But I think you just play guys from 12th or from 13th on back and build lineups exclusively from there. And then just let whatever ownership these guys get, just hopefully that just dies, runs into an issue or whatever stuff. And like I said, what a disappointing Brickyard. What a disappointing Brickyard when you're like, yeah, X crown jewel event, guy who deserves to win it, probably not going to win it. Like, it's going to be some Mickey Mouse, winner and stuff. Or not a Mickey Mouse, but like entering this, like you can't be like, Buescher deserves to win this race. Like, that's what I mean. Like, I just don't see these guys pulling through today. Something stupid's going to happen. That's just my gut feel. And so I'm like, all right, screw it. Play in the back, putting very little. I hate that too, man. I hate when I'm like, yeah, just screw the projections, put all that time and effort into it. Like, I'll be honest. Like, I got Hamlin for like 65. I got Reddick for 47. And I'm like, I just don't think it's going to matter at the end of the day. I just really don't think it's going to matter. Let me see. Yeah, I mean, Busch, Chastain for PD. I mean, when you look at where Chastain is, and you look at the, what happens when Kyle Busch is running issues, this is where Kyle Busch is at. This is why Kyle Busch has been chalk recently. Yet again, I've just been lucky. Like, that's all it is. I haven't been right or wrong. I've just, I mean, arguably, you're going to be like, oh yeah, I faded Kyle Busch. I was right. But like, that's a risky stance alone. There's a reason Kyle Busch has been chalk recently, because he has been a really, really good car, and he has a high chance of being optimal in these races. I've just made the decision to fade him, and he's wrecked and ran into issues. Like, that's actively been it. I don't think he's like, I would not be saying that either one of them have been shit lately. I just think that's just what's ended up happening. If Kyle Busch does not get wrecked at Pocono, probably finishes, 11th. And then we're like, wow, he has a lot of finishes up in this area. If you take out Texas, which I don't even remember if he wrecked at Texas. We haven't even talked about Texas. Holy shit. Is Texas even here? Thank God it's not. Oh God. Do we even want to bring up Texas here? Not a lot of gigantic crashes, but leaders ran into issue, turned into a bit of a shit show. There's a reason why I'm not including that data point and stuff, because you gotta go and manipulate a lot of things. I'm terrified to even look at what happened to the starting grid at Texas here. Let's see. Dead. 1, 2, dead. So 2 guys who started in the top 10 even viable for DFS. Like, shit. If I'm looking at races to like use as a fucking like data point, I would start looking at how the races that have gotten crazy this year, how they've played out and stuff. And even here, like, yeah, sure, we got 1 car, 3 cars, 1 car, 1 car, 1 car, 1 car, 2 cars, 2 cars, 1. Like, this is what I expect the race and reference sheet to look at the end of this Indy race. It's going to be a lot of 1, 2 car incidents, maybe like 1 6 car wreck that'll like, barely include more people because they barely made contact. Like, this is what I expect to see from Indy today. So, how many people DNF'd here? My expectations like 8 to 12. That's even less than here, and this was an absolute shit show. So I think place differential is the way to go, man. I really do. I just say screw it. We're doing that. Head to head, just between Kyle Busch and Chastain in terms of where they've been running at, it would be the edge would be to Kyle Busch in terms of speed, but I think Chastain, just like Ben Rhodes, always in play on strategy alone. However, for this slate with where they're starting, I do believe that, and that conversation is a bit irrelevant. But yeah, that's where I'm at, guys. My decision is going to come to or land on how many good plays do I want? Because any brain dead monkey can be like, I'm going to play the good guys in the back, right? And they're like, I'm going to play Christopher Bell. I'm going to play Ross Chastain. I'm going to play Kyle Busch. I'm going to play Cindric. I'm going to play, what else is back here? Do I have Keselowski? I'm going to play Brad Keselowski. That's when the issue comes into play of like, how big do I want to big brain myself? Like I want to try and not land on like that type of build, because like anybody would land on like that type of stuff. God damn it, that's a good line. Holy shit, man. Dude. Oh my god. You don't even need me to say the last driver on that lineup. Oh man, that's such a good line. Like that's gonna score so well. So yeah, I mean that's where my concern is like I gotta get different in like one place, right? I just don't want to have all 6 guys be the obvious good plays. That's where I gotta get different. But I think those types of builds can very easily compete, and I think they can very easily outscore lap leader types of lineups. So that's where I would go. I think I am going to end you guys or in the stream there. See if you guys have anything left. Yeah. See it. Hopefully chaos leans in our favor, Alex. And yeah, I do believe that's it. Best of luck, guys. I guess root for just stupidity. It's always fun rooting for a wreck. Whenever NASCAR is like horny for yellows and they haven't thrown a yellow in a while and they have some piece of debris and then they throw a yellow, and I cannot tell you how many times it sucks to be on the like, what the fuck is that caution for, NASCAR? Why are you throwing that yellow? It's much more fun to be like, yeah, we got a yellow, we got an overtime finish. Like that I think that's where I'm just gonna be today, and just root for absolute stupidity. So best of luck, guys. And I will see y'all in 3 weeks for the next NASCAR preview. I'm sure I'll be on some shows. Well, because we have the Hall of Fame game on the 1st, right? I think it's like 2 weeks away. I'll probably do something for that. I don't know. No, maybe not. I don't need to do that. I don't know. We'll figure out some things to do. I'm sure I'll probably convince Bobby and Sheets to try and do a roundtable next week and just talk about whatever, maybe on like Thursday or Friday or something. But yeah, I'll see you guys in like 3 weeks to talk NASCAR. So enjoy this. Root for a joke of an event, and I think you'll just enjoy it a lot more than approaching it and be like, I need Hamlin to lead 85 laps. Like I think you were just a glutton for punishment if that's going to be a rough watch, man. Anyway, see you guys later.